Right guys, I'm back. As you may know, in the last video we put in the front subframe as well as the gearbox. I'm glad that's over because it was an absolute nightmare. But we move on. Today we're going to be fitting the power steering rack back. It's in all honesty going to be a short video, but in an effort to try and get more episodes out more frequently, I figured why not. So, here is our power steering rack. I have stripped all this section back, applied some rust treatment, red oxide primer, and then some chassis paint, because as you may see, the entirety of the rear end is now black. That is because, as I say, I have sealed it all in with some chassis paint. It's looking pretty darn good in my opinion, if not better than it did in the unit. So yeah, as I say, this is a rack. We've got our white line bushings to fit, not the circular ones that you can see here. These are pretty rock solid, so I'm not going to bother replacing those ones. We've got our brackets returned, nice, well, they've been powder coated in a nice black. You can see, in this white line kit you get 3 bushings, 3 different sizes. You only need 1. So let's just say, for example, this one is ours. That goes round, as you would expect, on there. That goes on there. And yeah, just bolts down. Whether it improves anything, it's going to be extremely marginal, and you probably won't even notice. So, yeah, let's just crack on. Alright guys, you join me at the front end of the car. Look at that. Unbelievable. The problem is, I've only got one hand. So, we've got 2 longish bolts like this. And then we've got 3 of these size bolts. This is definitely a lot harder than it looks, believe me. Oh, fucking hell. Oh. Where's Gareth when you need him? The problem I've got as well is because it's been powder coated, it's proven quite difficult to get the bolt to spin. I don't like the way that... Ooh, there's a worm! Jesus Christ, where the hell is a worm came from? There's just a worm randomly appeared. Anyway, look, I'm not really entirely happy the way that bushing sits, if I'm honest. If I get the original, I can't believe there's a worm. Well, I can see his trail. It came from all the way over there. That is just weird. Right guys, here is the old bushing and here is the new bushing. You can see they're a little bit different in design. This one's got a bit of a flat edge and this one is just almost completely circle. After a bit of research, these do appear to be the wrong bushings. These are for the 02 to 04 Impreza and they fit many other different models of Subaru. The model number for this is KSR 202, whereas the ones I need, off the top of my head, I think it's KSR 207, which includes 2 of these bushings. I don't know why it includes 2, as well as the other 2 bushings, as well as a press kit to press them out. So yeah, I'm not going to bother replacing them now. We'll just put the old one back on. We'll worry about that at a later date. There's many other things higher on the list than some rack bushings, but you might be asking yourself, Jake, why have you opted for the impact? Well, because of the paint on the threads from the powder coating, it's proven an absolute nightmare to do by hand, so I'm pretty darn pleased with that, guys. Well, it's safe to say this has been an absolute pig to get on. This has taken me the best part of 45 minutes just to get to this stage. Right, that one is seated nicely. Lovely. Oh, it's just not going in, man. I'm getting fucking wound up. Oh, I've had enough. I've had enough for the day. I'm running out of time. And yeah. So, there we have it, guys. I've had enough for today. I'm calling it a day. I'm going home. It's fully stressed me out now. I just can't get it in. It doesn't seem like it's straight, if I'm honest. Yeah, it's just spinning. So I'll come back to it another day. Right then, guys, it's a week later since I called it a day on the pipe. It's now in, thanks to Gareth. I didn't end up filming it, but it's fully seated. And we've also bolted this up on the top and bottom. I'm not sure if that needs to go in a little bit more though. Maybe it needs to go in just a little bit more. Really difficult to get in though, even at that. One thing to note is that I had to remove these 4 bolts just to drop it down enough so I could get that in, but yeah, it's now in. Yeah, so as I say, that is the rack essentially done. However, one thing I want to do, just bring this all the way out, is, well, we'll go a little bit further than that. I just want to grease this a little bit before we put the boot on. I've done some research online. There seems to be much debate on what grease you should use for your steering rack, but the general consensus is that provided it's molly based, it doesn't matter. So I'm just using the CV grease that we use for the CV axles. You can just about see that, this one. Again, what I've read is do not apply very much. And somebody will be commenting, no doubt, saying no, you can't use that grease. And then I've just gone and screwed it all up, haven't I? I don't know if I need any more than that, but I'm going to leave it at that. And we'll whack the boot on. Well, I say whack the boot on, we'll put the tyre rod in. Oh no, I need that tool, don't I, to do it? I can't find the tool, unfortunately. I thought I did have one back in the unit, but a quick search around, I've obviously lost it somehow. I'll push the boot on for now, just so we can say, well, it's technically done. I'll get a tool ordered, and I'll tighten both sides, as, you know, there's every chance that it wasn't tightened properly back in the unit, the other one, so. As I say, I've still got to order that tool. You could argue I should have ordered one before I started the video, I should have made sure, but at the end of the day, you get the idea. I'll show you in another video, me tightening it up, I suppose, but, yeah. It's coming together now, guys. It's coming together. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it yet, but these are the 555 tie rods. I rust treated them, primed them, and then I've painted on some chassis paint. So hopefully they won't go rusty anytime soon. I do need to practice on my painting skills though, it does seem. I've got the primer all over the place. That seems to be a running theme. I should have masked it up, I suppose, but, you know, by the time it's been on the road a bit, you're not really going to notice that anyway, so it's not a deal breaker for me. We're we're not striving for perfection anymore. So yeah, that is that. So with the racking, let me show you a few things that have been happening off camera, just to keep you guys up to date. First, we've got the start motor. That is now all bolted in, all the looms wired up, going back to the battery. There's this cable here, however, I think it's a ground cable that goes from the gearbox. So I'm struggling to figure out where that goes. I have a feeling that it may bolt onto there, but I'm not entirely sure. If you do know, then let me know in the comments, please. I'm going to do a bit of research, but yeah, in the meantime, I'd appreciate the help. I may have mentioned this in a previous video, but we've got the pitch stop mount bracket mounted up to the gearbox, ready for that to go in. I've got an upgraded one, a Fuji Racing one, ready to go in. The slave cylinder, in fact, I had trouble finding these bolts, but luckily I've managed to find them. That's not in at the moment because when we were testing the slave cylinder, it's leaking, but I think that's just because the pin came out. So I've not put that in yet, as I don't want it leaking all over the clutch or anything. So yeah, the good news is though, bolted it up and tested the clutch, pushing the clutch in and out, and no issues. It, you know, it depresses and bounces itself back up perfectly. One thing that I didn't remember is how hard the clutch is on this car. It's I think it's even harder than it was before, but I'm not sure where all these loom cables go. There's one for the gearbox, and it seems to plug into itself. I might have the footage for that, but as far as all these cables go, I'm not entirely... I can't remember for the life of me where they went.
So, as we can see, they seem to go into each other quite nicely. I don't know whether to commit and push them in or not.
Go for it. I'm sure it'll come out. Why would it connect to itself, though?
I don't know.
The battery loom, I've replaced just this section. For some reason, the ends were knackered on this, so I got a second-hand one. I think it was like 10 quid or something, and I've just wired it all up and run it back to the starter motor. So yeah, that is on. This one here, I've already replaced back when the car was on the road, so nothing to worry about on that end. As of yet, I've not bolted up the gearbox with the brackets. I was hoping to do that today, but unfortunately I've had a job come in for work, so that's cut the day short, and it's only 20 past 10 on a Monday. So yeah, I was hoping for a quiet day, but it's not gone to plan. Here is the welding that we've been doing on the left sill. There's still a bit of cleaning up to do, but I honestly do think that this side is much better than the first attempt. It's far from perfect again. There has been people that have said, you know, due to the whole pinholes, you know, the sills won't last 5 minutes, which, you know, if that's the case, then so be it. But unfortunately, I'm on a deadline to get this car running and rolling out of this shed. You know, if I get to the MOT and they say, look, this is absolutely atrocious, you need it repaired properly, then so be it. We had a go, and that's all we can do. So yeah, that is the passenger rear sill. Let me know what you think of it. And lastly, because I'm running out of time, we've started work on the rear arch. It's, well, we've only welded in this section. Again, it doesn't look too great. We've not even cleaned it up or anything yet, but you'll notice there's a bit of rust all along the chassis rail. We're going to have to grind all that back and rust treat it. It seems to be a never-ending amount of rust on this car, and we could go around in circles with it, really, couldn't we? You know, we're never going to get it perfect unless we strip the entire car and dip it in a bath or something like that. And, well, you know, as I've said before, I am just a guy in a shed, and I'm not loaded, so we're just making do. We're going to enjoy the car for what it is, as I've mentioned probably in the first video, when I first discovered all the rust again. But yeah, so we'll grind all that back, rust treat it and all that. This sloth bracket, the infamous sloth bracket, is going to be coming out. Rich has recommended a bracket, which I'll show when I eventually do buy it. I've not bought it yet. For replacing it, it'll be a much safer option than this. This, you know, it's quite likely to fail, if we're honest. The bracket itself won't fail, you know, it's not going to fall off or anything, but the clip that clips this in, you know, it's not going to be particularly safe, so we'll do it properly. We'll replace that. That's that, guys. Unfortunately, I've got to go get some work done now. Right then, guys, it's currently 6 AM on a Tuesday, so you'll have to forgive me because I'm really not feeling recording, if I'm completely honest, but needs must. We need an outro for the power steering video, but mainly I've came to paint on some primer on the front end. I've done a little bit of rust treating. I've painted on the first coat of primer. So rather than wait till the weekend and then have to wait another week before it dries, I figured, well, I'll do it during the week, and at least then come the weekend I can crack on with what I've got planned. In the next video we're going to be putting on the brackets for the gearbox, but it'll be a little bit more interesting as we've got the Super Pro bushings to go in, as well as the Group N tranny mount, so stay tuned for that. I've got the underseal on order, and I'm not sure which way around I'll do it, because I need to do a bit of undersealing at the front end before all the brackets go on. So yeah, well, I'll figure it out. Stay tuned either way. Yeah. Anyway, that'll be the end of the video, because as I say, I'm not really with it. As I say, I'm not really with it this time, as you can clearly tell. Let me know what you think of the passenger sill. In my opinion, it looks much better, but let me know. Let me know what you think of the rack, and do you have any advice on anything else that I've been doing in this video? So, especially like ground cable, let me know, as well as the gearbox connectors. I don't see why they would connect into themselves, but perhaps somebody can shed some light. I do need to do a bit of research on it, but you know, in the meantime, I'd appreciate anybody letting me know. So yeah, that's the end of the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and all of that rubbish, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.